In this video, I want to talk about some of the releases over the last week and what is coming up over the next week, and let you guys know what I'm considering and what you should probably be considering as well. Let's get into it. The first shoe on my list is probably the shoe that is at the top of my list, but it's also the shoe that I am sitting on the fence the most with. It's the Jordan System 23. It is a clog. I think it's the first clog ever from the Jordan brand, and while it does look pretty cool, it is insanely overpriced. It's $180 here in Australia. And just for reference, not that I think you can compare it to the classic Crocs clog, those retail for $70 here in Australia. So there's about $110 premium for getting access to the Jordan brand and this stretch knit fabric booty thingy that they've got inside the clog. Now that's also probably the reason why I like the design of the System 23 so much. I think the elephant print that they've got for that stretch knit woven fabric, whatever it is, really looks nice, and it looks super fresh against the white clog that has released here in Australia. There are two versions of this clog available, white version and a black version. I think the white version is probably the pick of the two, only because it's the sort of shoe that I think would be used more in summer, and that white clog kind of gives a fresher vibe. I also think that black clog looks a little bit like the sort of shoe you would wear if you were working in a pizza shop. I was really late to jump on the Crocs bandwagon, never really being the biggest fan of that shoe. Even now, while I own a few pairs of Crocs and appreciate the aesthetic that they provide to certain outfits, I find them incredibly uncomfortable to wear without socks. So having this booty inside the clog for this Jordan model really does appeal to me, and I also think the clog itself is a much nicer design. It doesn't have the adjustable strap like the Crocs do, but I don't think it really is meant to compete with the Crocs clog either. It's just hard to not draw a comparison to that shoe when you are comparing it against the price of the Jordan 23. I'm kind of leaning towards wanting to buy it, but I am just having a lot of trouble justifying that $180 price tag. I mean, putting that into perspective, that is more expensive than a Jordan 1 Mid, even after its $10 price increase that it has had here in Australia. The next drop from Nike that's happened over the last week is what I feel was a highly anticipated lifestyle model that can appeal to the runners out there, and this is the Nike Air Max Flyknit Racer. It's the combination of two models, so a Flyknit racing shoe from 2012 with the Air Max Pre-Day. What I think is really cool about this model is that they're taking where the Air Max line has gone most recently, which is hardcore lifestyle territory, and mixed it with its heritage, a performance running shoe. And you can really see the influence from both the shoes in the Air Max Flyknit Racer. The front end of the shoe really does resemble that shape from the 2012 model that it is drawing inspiration from, and the back end is all Air Max Pre-Day. It's $230 here in Australia. It's not necessarily overpriced, but it is pricey. Because it shares so much of the design aesthetic with the Air Max Pre-Day that is pretty regularly discounted these days, I think it is going to have a little bit of trouble moving. There'll definitely be a surge in demand right now, mostly runners that might want to get their hands on a lifestyle model that also speaks to their passion, but I think this one will be a hold for me, at least until I see some more discounting on it. Next up is a model that has dropped here in Australia, but I think is about to be released in other regions, and that is the Cortez Union collaboration. There are two colorways dropping, and I think each of the colorways is pretty strong. The two colorways are Lemon Frost and Light Smoke, and for someone who doesn't love the Cortez model, I think these are super dope. I don't like them, not because I don't think that they are a cool piece of the Nike puzzle. I think that they tell a really great story, and you know, they're one of the oldest silhouettes in the Nike catalog, but for me personally, they don't look right on my foot. I don't know if it's because of the size shoe that I need to buy, a 13. So it's not really a flattering silhouette for those bigger sizes. It's personal preference, or it could be just the way that I style them. They tend to not look right on me. So, you know, I think I've owned only a pair of Cortezes, but these Cortezes I would buy. Let me rephrase that. I would probably buy the Light Smoke colorway for two reasons. Number one, it seems to be more geared towards males because there's different sizes available. In Australia, the Lemon Frost caps out at a US 10.5, but I also really like the color blocking in it. I like what they've done to the midsole with the speckles going through it, and that pink, yellow, blue and gray, I think just all comes together really well and would look really good on feet. I think it would turn a few heads. I think this is a nice model for $190. You can't really go wrong. There is a Jordan 5 dropping. This is the Dark Concord. It's dropping here in Australia, but I think it has dropped in the US and some other regions. And this is a shoe that I absolutely love. Jordan 5s, I think along with the 3s and the 1s, have just been going nuts over the last 2 years. We've had a bunch of different colorways, and I'm all here for it because I love the Jordan 5 and I love what they've been doing with the colorways that they've released. I think I've liked every colorway that's come out over the last year and a half at least for the Jordan 5s, and this one's no different. It reminds me a lot of the Stealth 2.0 colorway, but just replaces those blue hits with purple hits. Not in all the same spots, but you're essentially getting a white sneaker with purple accents, and those two colors work super nice together. $270 is a little bit pricey. That's $270 here in Australia. I think it's $200 in the US market, but it's a Jordan 5 that I think I'm not going to be able to pass on. I'll definitely be trying to purchase myself a pair of those, but I can see this one sitting as well. So if you're not in a rush to get it, you know, you can probably not get it. I don't think you'll get it discounted, but I think it's nice. Anyway, next up is a pair of absolute underappreciated gems. These are the Nike Air Force Ones, but not just any Air Force Ones. These are part of the Color of the Month pack. So Nike dropped a triple white version like last month or a few weeks ago, whenever it was, and now they're dropping a red and a blue version. So not like red shoes or blue shoes, but like a white version of the Air Force One with red detailing and a white version with the blue detailing. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go with the red, only because I feel like the red with the gum gives a total 80s vibe, which really speaks to what the Air Force One represents. The story that goes behind the Color of the Month pack is super awesome as well. Nike were going to discontinue the Air Force One, but a small group of retailers in Baltimore convinced Nike to continue to supply their stores with the Air Force One in different colorways each month. That's probably a really simplified story, but it is legit. Like, it was a small group of retailers that banded together to get Nike to continue to produce the Air Force One. And what is really cool about this specific release is that it isn't exactly like a standard Air Force One that you would buy in most shops today. It has got a slightly different tooling to it that brings it a little bit closer to the original version of the Air Force One, and there are a couple of other details here that are really nice that kind of also lend itself to the original version of the Air Force One, like this tick at the bottom of the eye stay. When you buy a Color of the Month Air Force One, you also get a little toothbrush, which is kind of cool. I don't know what the toothbrush looks like. I haven't seen a picture of it, but you know, I don't know how useful it would be to keep the shoes clean, but it's a nice touch all the same. But it is $210. Here in Australia, $210 is about $40-50 above what a standard pair of Air Force Ones would set you back. So there is a small premium, but I will definitely be getting a pair of these at some point. I'm not sure if it will be one of these two drops, but if I did decide to get one of these, I would not be mad about it. One release a lot of you will be lucky to get is the Air Max Penny 1 in an Orlando colorway. And I say lucky for some because here in Australia, there really isn't a big market for the Penny 1s. We just don't seem to get a lot of these shoes, and in order to get them, it is pretty difficult. Like, the retailers that stock them are pretty few and far between. So you got to know where to go to get them, and they would understandably get a very, very limited run. So if you're not quick, you've pretty much missed the boat unless you want to go to the resale market, which would just attract like huge shipping charges. If you can get your hands on a pair of these guys, the Air Max Penny 1 in an Orlando colorway, I think you should do yourself a favor and jump on them. This is one of the original colorways that released, and it is just magic. I mean, I personally love the silhouette of the shoe. It's beefy, it's modern, it holds up really well today, and the colors just work so well together. A really great pair of sneakers. Unfortunately for us in Australia, they are pretty hard to come by. Hopefully we will get a few of the independent sneaker boutiques that will stock them, but otherwise we generally don't get them via Nike or the sneakers website. If you can get yourself a pair or try on a pair at least, you should really check these out. For those of you like me that love a basketball silhouette, but also appreciate a really solid budget buy, there is a new sneaker that's also dropped. Well, I don't even know if I'd call it a sneaker because I guess it's more of a performance shoe that has dropped over the last week, and that is the Giannis Immortality 2. The Immortality range is a takedown of Giannis's signature shoe, and it is probably the cheapest signature takedown model that is available. At $120 retail, you're not really going to get anything cheaper, but it is pretty limited as far as the tech inside of them goes. I've never owned a pair, but they seem to be pretty well received, I guess. One thing to note though is that this Immortality version, which is the second version, largely looks unchanged from the first version. I think there may be a couple of tweaks, and the colorways that they're releasing them now in are different, but that's where the strength lies in this range. I think it has a really solid design, and the colorways that they are available in can really work well for the design of the shoe. For $120, it's a pretty solid buy, I would think. Another Jordan model that is about to drop in some markets but has released, well, through some retailers here in Australia at least, is the Air Jordan 7 Citrus. The Air Jordan 7 itself, I think, is a silhouette that isn't like fully appreciated by a lot of people. It doesn't seem to generate the same hype that other Jordan models get, but it is a really solid model. I mean, it was like one of the first after the 3. Well, it was the first to remove the air bubble after it was introduced in the 3. And it's got this kind of bulky sophistication to it that I really love. It is definitely one of those sneakers that has a lot of presence. And in this citrus colorway that is basically all black with hits of yellow and red, just looks great. One that I would definitely consider getting if you are able to get your hands on a pair. There are a few that I will be considering. Keep an eye on the channel for reviews on the ones that I do buy, but let me know what you guys are thinking about in the comments below. And until the next video, laters.